The server was not even started. It was not only was it not running for broadcasting, it hadn't even been started. So that shows you the message I showed you. That's the kind of message you would expect if it found the computer, which is this QuikSound Server.local. It found that computer, but at the time it did not even find the server running. Okay, so now I've started the server program, and now I'm going to close. Well, actually, let's try this. Let's play some audio, and I'm going to check this and see. Okay, we do have some audio input. I'll shut those off. Got audio coming in. I'll come over here and play audio from the player. And it's not bad. So despite that warning, it's not too bad, okay? And the reason that worked out okay was because I haven't made any changes on the server settings since this player was previously launched, okay? But to be on the safe side, if I were to see that warning, I would make sure the server was running. If you're not the person who maintains the server, you'd contact that person and have them make sure it's started and running. And then I would just close out of the app at that point, reopen it, and let it get a chance to, because when you first start the app, it reaches out to the server to make sure that the internal settings match those expected by the server. Some examples would be, is data compression turned off or on? What number of channels are activated to be used? Those types of things. And so if those are out of kelter with each other, you're going to get a bad result. So let me just demonstrate that just to show you what could happen. So this is the server. I'm going to stop the broadcast for a second. I'm going to go into the settings, and I'm going to make a pretty significant change. I'm going to change this to, let's change it to 16 input channels. And then I'm going to go ahead and activate some more input channels over here. So now that means the amount of data sent across the network is actually fundamentally going to change. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and start that back up. We'll see what happens here. Yeah, probably nothing good, but we'll catch up with it here in a second. Okay, so restarting the server. Now we've got more data coming through. If I look at the meters, well, I've only got audio coming through a couple channels, but we should be transmitting. Let me see if it's saved by settings. We've got 16 channels here. Yeah, it should be now transmitting 16 channels of audio, whereas previously it was transmitting 12. So now the situation, we have a player running that. We have a player running that was configured with 12 channels of audio in mind. Okay, so let's just play and see what happens. Okay, and this one kind of lucked out, just very coincidentally, because just so happens the channels that are active, they're the only ones that are activated for panning. But if I went in and, first of all, it's only showing 12 active channels, and there should be 16. That's one thing. If I throw in some other configurations here, if I try to mix in some of these other channels of audio in here, I don't know. It's kind of unknown what the effect is going to be. I'm honestly surprised it sounds as good as it does given the situation. But just to make sure it's all synced up correctly, I'm going to stop the player, restart the player, and we see that it's synced up now. Now you can see the 16 channels are reflected, so I've got more channels available. So those changes were made on the server. I'll make another change on the server just so you can kind of get a feel for that. So let's say we want channel 9 to be, let's just say Vox 2. Vox 1 is on 8, so it happens to be, and let's say channel 10 is Vox 3. And Vox is vocals, by the way, for those who may not be familiar. So I'm going to save that. And I'm going to close the player. Reopen the player. And now we can see on those additional channels, we can see on channel 9, channel 10, we've got Vox 2 on 9, Vox 3 on 10, and now we've got a little microphone icon representing that this is probably a singer that we're talking about, okay? And if I add those as favorites, which I'll do that here, you can now see Vox 2 and Vox 3. We might as well, let's go ahead and add Vox 1 as well. So there's Vox 1, Vox 2, Vox 3. Okay. Now they haven't been assigned to an ear yet, but we could, well, it looks like that one was. For some reason I've got that one in the right ear, that in the left. You can do that any way you want. Okay, so that's some interaction between the server settings. And let me do this. I'm gonna completely stop the server program, pause it, and then I'm actually gonna kill the program completely, stop the player, restart the player. Let's see what message we get now. Okay, so now we got that message we saw earlier. It's saying, you know, configuration data was retrieved from the server, even though, so it's the same message I read you earlier, because the server is not running. Now I'm going to go start the server back up. And this time just, you know, everything still has the same settings as before. So if I start playing here, and I start playing here, it should be good to go. In fact, I don't know if you heard, but the quality of the audio was noticeably better. So even though the previous time when the data was out of sync, it still managed to play some audio. It affected the quality a little bit. So making sure that if changes have been made to the server, that the players get restarted, that's an important step. So now if I restart this player, now when it pops up and I don't have that message, then I'm sure that everything is synced up, because it's not going to it's going to have a message if it didn't get a chance to sync. In this case, we were okay because it had already synced before and no changes had been made to the server. Okay, so that's one type of message. Another type of message you could see is if the network that you're on doesn't have a server with the right name. Okay, so like you could install this on a computer other than one named QuikSound Server.local, and I'm going to have some tutorials on how to, you know, set up, how for administrators to do setup. But let's just say I name this one QuikSound Server -disabled, and then I save those settings. Okay, and I close the app, and now I try to reopen it. First of all, you'll notice it's taking a little bit longer to open the app because it's trying to find something that just isn't there. And it gave us a message. It says the audio server was unreachable. You may need to update the server name here, save settings, close the app, and try again. So I'm going to follow the instructions that I was given there. And I'm going to remove -disabled from the name, resave it, close the app, reopen the app. And you can see the message went away. We should be good to go. We can go test play some music here. All right. So that kind of demonstrates some of the interaction between the server and the player. I've got more documentation on the website about, you know, how this would be set up at your location, and also some of the use cases that it can be used for. But I hope this helps you understand a little bit better how the settings on the server interact with the player. The player automatically contacts the server. It tries to find it using a proprietary mechanism. And when it does find it, then it updates settings from the server and uses and applies those to the UI. I want to show you just one more quick thing. I'm going to close the player, and I'm going to stop the broadcast. I'm going to increase the channel count to 32. This happens to be a Mackie DL32 system that I've got hooked up to this. And then I'm going to go ahead and enable. Let me pull this over so you can see more of what I'm doing. I'm going to enable a lot more channels, and you can hand pick up to 28 channels. You can see I've reached 28. I've got 28, and up here it says 28 assignable. And now it won't let me pick anymore because I've put in a hard baked limit of 28 because I found when you get above 28, it starts becoming unreliable. But let's say, okay, I know I'm not using 16, or I'm not using 17, 18, 19, and 20. I don't have anything actively for this session on there. Then I could go ahead and add these channels. And even though they're not sequentially all, contiguous in order, I'm using these 28 channels, and that's fine. Okay, so I save that, and now I'm going to go back and restart the player. And you can see now we've got 28 channels with 4 of them blocked out. And they still have a representation of where the meters were at last time they got data. But let me see, let's go ahead and go back over to the server.